I had a lot of emotion in me, and I needed to get that emotion out and move it through and go into a transformative state. So transformation also became important to me. Where do we go to those places where we become unstuck, or where our sorrow becomes our wisdom, or all of these philosophical and human inquiries were what motivated me to create dances, ritualized dance, not just improvisation, but ritualized dance, and then wanted to share that with people. Well, I was one of those people that came out of the womb dancing, as my mother says, and there are several of us. It was something that I just did. I didn't, it was like breathing, it was like air. I never thought I would become a dancer. I just danced. I danced to keep myself sane. I danced to have conversation with the trees and the forest and the water and the street and the living room and my bed. I danced because I was alive and I needed interface and wanted interface. So I was sent to class when I was 3, and I did Adagio with my brother Christopher Gillis. And we were supposed to be on Ted Mack's Talent Hour, and luckily that did not happen. I got sick, great idea. And I think our lives would have been altered, and we would not have been, I don't know how we would have found our way into the art that we care so deeply about. When I was about 18, I decided I should figure out what I was going to do with my life. And I thought I would probably become a social worker or a psychologist. And I had a vision or a dream. It did happen at night, and I heard a voice very clear, and there were visuals and all sorts of things, but heard a voice saying, "Dance." And I said, no, there's people and there's audiences, and I'm frightened of people, and I don't want to do this. And when I woke up from the vision and the dream, I realized I was either going to run towards it or away from it. I started to study, and I found Linda Skyreno and in Montreal, and she was part of a company called Shango. They started a company, and she had me come and be a member of that company. She was incredibly confident in me. She cared about my work. She saw me, and she thought I was wonderful, and she was incredibly supportive, and I'm eternally grateful to her. Then from there, I went down to New York and began studying with May O'Donnell, who my brother was studying with. May was the original Graham dancer. She was Martha's lead, other than Martha herself, of course. And she taught an extremely demanding gentle Graham. So in other words, it wasn't these jammed contractions. They were shaped, they were carved, and the exercises were extremely demanding. And I was very grateful that she just took me under her wing and often gave me classes when I couldn't afford it. I was just supported and cared for and loved. This pigeon-toed, short, weird young woman who thought May was counting and you're 1 and you're 2 and you're 3 and you're 4 because she just liked numbers. I had no idea that shapes went on those numbers. My brother then entered the Le Mans company, and I also, first time I'd gone to New York, I went to see Chris in the Le Mans company, and oh my gosh, that was what I was doing. That was the kind of movement that I was engaged with, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is a home for me. So I began studying with Carla Maxwell and the astonishing Jennifer Scanlon, and of course Risa Steinberg, Alan Wayne, who was a ballet russe, and then Mary Vigman, and was too classical for the moderns and too modern for the classicals, and had a solo career and did a really odd technique, a really odd style of movement that Joe Lachey also did. And I loved him. It was odd and wacky and right in line for me because I was trying to create something that I felt wasn't in the world as well. Then, of course, I got back to Montreal and met Linda Rabin, Limon, just back from her sojourns around the world, and the phenomenal Linda Rabin, who has remained for me my teacher. She's also on the board of my foundation. I take her continuum. She is an astonishment, and I am incredibly grateful for her in my life, and for her support and for her care. I also do want to mention Taylor at this moment because when Chris entered the Taylor company, it was I would just sit there and watch Taylor ad infinitum. And I really admired several things. One was that his dancers were all different at that time, were completely different sizes and shapes. Paul also was an incredible support for me. I took class, he let me use studio space, he came to my performances, he asked me to join the company at one point, although we decided really that was not a good idea because I could not count because of my dyslexia, so I would have just stymied the company, and we did see that when I did guest with the company. Everyone trying to help me out with counting when it was just absolutely rather hopeless. Chris was really a classical in his formation. He was so involved in the technique and the shape and the precision of everything, and I was just in for the feeling and the gesture and the quality, and in with having a real choreographic kinship with nature. I think nature organizes better than we do, so trying to find this blend with nature and find the architecture, an honest architecture from the inside out of what this interior landscape that I was experiencing and that others experienced was. And it has been, as I have said, a continuum in my life. I knew I was a little bit different than everybody else in what I was looking for. And I wanted something raw, and I wanted it authentic, and I wanted it really close to the bone. One of the greatest things that I feel I've been able to accomplish as a dancer is and a choreographer, is having my work look like it's being created in the moment. And that can also stand against me as a choreographer. So I'm often, particularly in Canada, going, no, I am a choreographer. I do know how to choreograph, and I have choreographed and codified and studied and developed my discipline and my work and my way of functioning, and it's duplicable, and I can teach it to others, and create works that I think are of great value, and certainly thrill me, as which is why I'm still in the dance and still going like crazy at almost 50 years in the practice. So I felt that I could do this raw work, but I didn't think I could ask other people to. It was very, very vulnerable work. And having been through a nervous breakdown and all of that, watching my personality disintegrate and reintegrate, and looking at and trying to understand the range of emotions and how and where things develop and what are the sources of things, and really looking for the source of our transformational processes. That was where I was going. That was what I wanted, right or wrong. That was the thing that I was interested in, and how could one transform society, and what was feminine consciousness within the human consciousness range, and nature, and all of those things. So off I went on my own as a soloist, and the people that I originally thought I would share programs with, and all said, no, we want to go the much more traditional route. Choreographically, basically, I do love to choreograph in a lot of different styles, but my favorite is to look at the idea that I'm working with and develop a modality of functioning to create it that replicates or follows the quality or the idea of the piece. Is it dreamy? Is it mathematical? Is it what is it? And use various methods for that. So eventually in my solo process, I also had great respect for teachers, wasn't going to teach, and then didn't feel that I could do that properly or guide people through what my work was. And then, boom, suddenly I went, oh, yes, I do know how to walk people through this vulnerability and walk people through their emotions and dive in and come out and not get stuck. So, and into this whole textural, qualitative art world, not how far, how high, how far, how fast, but with what nuance, with what quality, with what texture. And that is something that you can just, there's no bottom to it, there's no top to it. It's just constantly quality and texture and communication with yourself, inside of yourself, and with the world outside. The work has always been something that is of service, so of service to the community, of service to my spirituality, of service to the energy in the world and to the audience. So it's not just the inner communication, it's the outer communication as well, and the architecture or rituals or honing the work to the precise poetry and that will allow me to communicate what I want to communicate. To be able to do your work this long, and I hope to continue it because I have such a passion for it. Constantly have ideas in my head, constantly going places, seeing things. It's as if something is just flowing through me, and dance is my medium. The body and the world and the intellect and the experiential wisdom, tying all those things together and what that means. That's my treasure chest, and and then out of that, the rituals which I share.